Hi there and welcome to a brand new day in the studio. So in today's video we're going to start to add in some of the details. Well, literally, today is about details. Never ever in my YouTube channel, or rarely ever in my painting, do I set aside a day for details. But again, this is the most elaborate and most ambitious painting that I've ever done. So this one does have some details. So I'm going to speak as though I know something about construction, which I don't. So imagine this. We laid down the foundation to our house. We put all the walls together, the drywall, I think that's what it's called. Yeah, I know nothing about construction. Don't think I'm a construction expert, but we laid down the entire foundation for our house. Everything's ready. Now what do? We have to decorate it. So we're gonna put in little, I don't know, the little details on the side. See, I really don't know about construction, but I have a basic idea of how a house is constructed. I don't think that construction workers start with house paint. You know, I don't think they do. So anyway, so we have our house all constructed, and now it's time to choose the colors and the little add-ons that we're going to want to put onto our walls. So on our palette today, we have titanium white, flake white, burnt umber, alizarin permanent, cadmium red, medium, yellow ochre, sap green, ultramarine blue, ivory black, and our painting medium is Liquin original. So like I said, today is going to be a day for details. Oh, so many details that we're going to paint. So what I'm going to do is mix up a value scale, a couple value scales, just to get acclimated to the colors we're going to put on. And this is going to be kind of awkward for me because I never create any kind of videos about details. Details just isn't really something that I do, but it's part of this painting. So let's go ahead. I'm going to mix up a kind of a reddish value scale, red, yellow, blue. So yeah, a reddish one, a yellowish one, and a bluish one. So I started out with ultramarine blue and alizarin permanent. Now I'm going to start to add in a little bit of cadmium red medium, a little more cadmium red medium, a little more liquin. Let's use the flake white. And that's about it for that. So I'm not going to completely clean off this brush. I'm just going to dab it dry and set it off to the side. So I have another brush here. So I'm going to use a different brush now to set up the other value scale. So the yellowish one, I'm going to start off with burnt umber. So burnt umber, well, for some reason this burnt umber isn't drying like burnt umber usually does, which is fantastic. And yeah, this is the same one I've had for 3 days now. This is pretty much all this paint. So what I do is I put the paint in the freezer, and then like after I'm done painting for the day, I'll just put it in the freezer and then it'll be good. Really, that's one way to save money on paints. When you're done, just put them in the freezer. Or you can let them dry in your palette and have a really cool looking palette. I used to do that with this one, but then I kind of scraped everything off. So that's going to be our kind of yellowish value scale. So we got red, yellow, now we need blue. So I'm going to get a different brush just so I don't have to keep cleaning brushes. And these are going to be our charging brushes, the brushes we're going to use to charge. So now I'm putting in a little bit of ivory black, and now I'm going to put in the ultramarine blue, a little bit of flake white. Let's just use the titanium white. So titanium white, I don't really need a lot of paint. So when you're detailing something, you really don't need that much paint. This is let's call this opposite day. This is opposite day. We're going to be doing things completely different to how I usually work. But we'll still have fun with it. It's a lot of fun. Every day we get to come into the studio is a day we can have fun and a day we can learn. And just for good measure, how about we set up another value scale? Just for good measure, okay? So we have red, yellow, blue. Let's get a gray one. Why not? Don't even think I need this, but why not? Just so we don't have to mix as much. this is us basically at the home improvement store, selecting all the varieties of colors that we're going to want to paint onto our walls. So there we go. There we go. We have 4 of those colors, and I'm gonna just get about I'm gonna just get 3 brushes for now. So these 3 brushes are, I'm just gonna go back and forth between these areas. And now you're probably wondering, what in the world am I going to do with these colors? So over here we have an image of our model Steve, and I'm going to keep a picture of him to the top left corner of your screen, so it should be right about there. So the photo reference is going to be to the top left corner of your screen. So the details that I'm talking about today are going to be right here. And what we're going to want to do is start to put in all of these little areas in the map. Now, I am not a geographer, so I'm not going to be telling you exactly what road goes where in what continent or whatever, wherever this page is. Notice on the photo reference over there in the corner, there isn't really that much stuff that's visible within the parameters of these shapes that are going to exist over here. But we get the basic idea of that little bluish, almost a little bit of a yellowish, reddish, and then we already put in the blue there. So let's return back to the palette, and with a different brush, I know I've got a lot of brushes out here, so with a different brush we're going to start to apply a little bit of an oil out. So just applying the Liquin original. And we're going to want to just cover the area that we're going to be working on for today. So I'm going to just be working on this area. And tell you what, I know that a lot of you have been commenting, and basically I've been kind of neglecting the comments for a while, and I'm sorry about that. It's kind of difficult to make YouTube videos every day, run a portrait group, and yada yada, all that stuff. I'm sorry. This is me apologizing for not looking at the comments enough. So what I've decided is I'm going to split today into 2 parts for me, but it will be 2 days for you. So tomorrow you're going to get a Q&A video. That's right, the Q&A video that a lot of folks have been asking for a long time. So this Q&A is just for you. Just for you. I'm going to go into my comment section and read out the questions and try to answer them the best that I can. And that's going to be part of the details. So I'm thinking that that's going to be the details for the globe. Not entirely sure, but when I get to the globe, I think that I'm going to set up the camera and film, and then go over it in voiceover style, so you get some painting footage and you get a Q&A at the same time. So I've accidentally just started oiling out an area that I don't want to work on, so I'm gonna just oil out this page just so that it doesn't dry awkward. Anyway, so tomorrow you're going to get a Q&A video that's going to feature me painting something over here, and I'm going to be talking in voiceover style, answering some of the questions. Anyway, so I think I have all of that covered now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the palette down. I'm going to get myself a chair, get my palette, and now we're ready to commence the details. So let's go ahead and get another brush. Alright, so what are we going to start off with? How about we start off with the bluish? So right around here. And those lines don't look particularly that straight. So let's go ahead and apply its opposite day. Let's have fun. This is called the wobbly hand technique to painting. This is the wobbly hand technique. That's right. This is a patented approach to painting that I have just invented. Wobbly hand technique. And we're going to apply the wobbly hand technique all across this little area here. laying out these little details. Not sure if I'm going to be able to get them just right, but oh well. We're just trying to get the little illusion of detail. But, you know, I'm also thinking about value because I took the color right from this little darker mid-tone region. So, yeah, I am trying not to make this overly dark either. Since it's opposite day, let's go ahead and apply the wobbly hand technique all across here. There we go. And all into here. Bet you didn't think I was going to put you in close-up. Had you worried, didn't I? But anyway, now you're seeing a close-up image of the patented wobbly hand technique. So I'm going to go into the red value scale. So now that we're in close-up, you're not really going to be seeing the colors, but it's okay. It's okay if these colors are a little bit different. Applying the wobbly hand technique, we're exploring this little area here, and look at that, all these little twists and turns going down to there. And let's apply a little more wobbly hand technique right down here. Up, down, up, down. Okay, I gotta take this a little seriously, don't I? So this has to go inwards, out. It's a very strange shape that this is making. I'm not getting it completely correct. I mean, I'm not trying to make a perfect map. That's not the point of this painting. And you know, an interesting thing about interpret, don't copy. Yeah, this is all about interpret and not copy. And here's another little tip for the detail work. When you're putting in details, and I'm going to speak as though I know about details because, you know, even the word detail makes me cringe. When you're putting in little details, try to make them soft. Yep, soft. Even though the photograph makes this look sharp, I'm going to try to keep it rather soft. So how am I going to do that? Fan brush. Fan brush. Just softening some of those little details. And it's opposite day. I'm usually super serious, at least trying to be informative in my videos and stuff. And you know, I'm trying to bring the experience of being here in the studio for you every single day. And some of those days are less informative than others. Some of those days are just about sitting there and having fun. And it's not that the other stuff is not fun. It's just that the other stuff requires much more focus. This, not really. And I know that I may be aggravating some folks that are really into geography and into the maps. So if I'm offending you in terms of, you know, disrespecting a map or something like that, I apologize. I don't want to disrespect anyone's interests. And I am taking the painting seriously. I mean, it's not like I'm not looking at the shapes and trying to observe the shapes. It's just that this in particular is not really, maybe I should just keep my mouth shut. Just observe me paint these little details. Okay, I'm not going to be quiet for the whole time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a different brush and I'm going to put in a little bit of more of a bluish tone, just like what we had before. So I know you can't really see the palette. So what I have mixed up is basically the same color that you saw here, which is the titanium white, ultramarine blue, and a little bit of the sap green. And I want to remix this color that you're seeing there, to put along over here. And while we're doing this, we can also kind of eliminate some of the outline. There we go. And I guess there's going to be some more blue over here. So this is kind of a scary video to make for me because I don't know much about these structures, and I guess I should probably have done more research into them. That is, maybe I should have actually looked into what continent or what state or whatever it is that I'm painting, but again, this is me giving you the truth. This is all about the truth behind the painting. I don't want to lie to you. So let's go ahead and get the brush that I used to mix up the yellowish scale. I'm going to cool it down with a little bit of the gray. And I'm going to be kind of cautious of the value, so I'm going to bring the value down just a little bit. And that might be a little bit too greenish, so I think the gray and the yellow went green. But, you know, I think it's fine. Now I know in the in old master paintings, like if you look at a Vermeer or something like that, like you see all those little details and you get caught up in those details. And there's a lot to it. You know, there's a lot to being serious about details, but you know, I'm just not. And it all comes down to my personality, really. I'm really sharing much more of myself with you in this video. And that's what it's all about. It's about creating the experience. And let's go ahead and return the wobbly brush technique. Wobble, wobble. There we go. And now there's a little thing, a little island in here. So let's get a little bit of the reddish. I think it's highlighted red. So let's go ahead and get a little bit of the red. Wobbly brush technique. The patented wobbly brush technique. There we go. We have that little shape. Now I'm going to fill it in with a lighter color. So let's go ahead, put that shape in there. There we go. Super simple. Now there's another little island over here. There exists another little island along the coast somewhere over here. We're just going to very easily paint that in there. Just a single little brush stroke. And of course we want to put in some of the little dark shapes over here, and I think these are words. Maybe words listing out the area. But instead of words, I'm just going to put these little lines. And yep, this is opposite day for me. It's not really about trying to be super serious today. Just a little serious. Just serious enough not to ruin this painting. How about that? Now that red is starting to jump out to me a little bit, so I'm gonna just try to soften it a little bit. And I'm gonna go ahead and sharpen this little edge here. Now that blue is a little too blue, so I'm going to go into the gray. And again, I just took from the value scale on my palette. So it's getting a little confused, the value of this area here. So I'm going to actually subtract a little bit. So this is just with paper towel. And I'm going to just darken it a little bit, but not too much. So I'm gonna have to make it very clear in the title for this video that this is one of those not a not a tutorial kind of thing, because it's not. I'm not really trying to give a formal lesson on this particular area of the painting. So this is getting a little bit softer. And it's really about what it looks like at a distance. You know, the wobbly hand technique here can really read at a distance, like the painter almost knew what he or she was painting. So it's also getting a little bit darker, I think, the map around here, so let's go ahead and just make it darker. And it's almost like I'm kind of glazing, but not really trying to glaze. So getting a little bit darker there. Oh, so many details. And over here. And there's a bunch more stuff over there. So let's go ahead, wobbly hand technique. Yep, and this is how I put in the little details. Wobbly hand over here. And let's make a little fun game out of this. Let's see if you can count how many times I say wobbly. So go ahead, when you're done watching this video, comment down below, see if you can count how many times I say wobbly. It's like wobble is my favorite word right now. So now we're getting into some more of a disaster with this, with these little details. So what you do, when in doubt, blur it out. So I'm going to blur some of this stuff in here. So going to get a little more serious here. So let's go ahead and just blur. This is how we blur things, just making them really, really soft. See, now the thing is, he could be reading an atlas, a real atlas, or he could be reading an atlas that's not real. An atlas that's, I don't know, an illustration of some fantasy world or some kind of made-up world. And you know what? This is the atlas for our world. We're creating our own world. How about that? In our world, just like Bob Ross would say, in our world, we can do anything. And we have the power to do that. Anything we want. If I wanted to paint in SpongeBob SquarePants somewhere over here, I could do it. I could. But I probably won't. And an opposite day, I'm going to change things up. So why is this area getting darker? It's not getting darker because the plane is darker. It's getting darker because it's just in an area that is darker in the map. How about that? But in all seriousness, there's still a shadow here that we want to maintain. So right there. We want this area to be darker, like a darker blue, because it is in shadow. So none of the values in here should get confused with the values in here. Even these little wobbly areas, you know, even these areas, we're going to make them lighter. It's impossible to see in the photograph, but we have more control we have all the control we want here. So I'm going to be making that darker over here. See that? Since it's in shadow, it's going to be darker. A little more of a squiggle down here. And throwing in some more little details into here. And I'm going to illuminate this area here a little bit more. So I'm going to make it a little bit lighter. You know, an opposite day, don't have to be that serious. But at the same, we can have fun and learn at the same time. So here's what you do when you're putting in the details, and you don't really want to put exactly what you're looking at just because you don't really have the patience to put in exactly what you're looking at. That's when you simplify. There you go, simplify. We're going to put a lot of details, lots of details. It's opposite day. But we want to make sure that all of these shapes fit within the parameter of the value scale that we already established. And yes, I know this hand isn't working. I'm going to come back to this hand later. I'm just kind of neglecting it for a little while. So I'm going to strengthen this edge here. Going to make it a little bit sharper. And it's sharper just because it's physically sharper. The edge on this corner of the page is closer to that of the edge of a knife than the edge of a feather. Always ask yourself, is the physical edge closer to a knife or is it closer to a feather? And that's closer to a knife. And now we're going to put in some more of a dark shape. But you know, I don't think I oiled that out. It doesn't look oiled out, so running out of brushes, I'm going to just go ahead and apply oil with a brush that has paint on it. In essence, glazing. Now I'm going to put in this little darker shape here for the back of the book. And we're going to look at all these little strands. It's opposite day. But in opposite day, I can also, I can share even more with you than usual. And that's what I want to do, share the experience. So now we're just kind of lightly glazing in the illusion of these pages for the book. And now we're going to apply a little bit more light right to here. A little bit more light right there. And so what do I mean by opposite day? By opposite day means it's all about the details. What? I would never say that if I were, painting a face or something. But this is literally like applying the house paint to the drywall in the house. Literally. I mean, this is actually the edge of the book, so this kind of isn't a detail, but this is an area of the painting that still must have a little bit more extra information. So let's go back to the wobbly hand technique. Wobbly hand right there. Wobble, 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 wobble. A little more wobble. And I'm gonna take a look at the corner of the page here. So I think that the corner of the page can get a little more specific now. So that is this shape here. Let's make it a little more clear. So taking right from the palette. Again, I'm not really mixing much. I'm kind of crossing between the range of values, meaning I can kind of move the brush from the yellow to the red to the gray if I want. But that's about all the mixing that I'm doing. Not really much mixing, so you're not missing much. You're not missing much by not seeing the palette right now, I promise. So I'm going to use the fan brush just to eliminate some glare, although it might not be glaring for the camera, but it was glaring for me. Okay, now let's go ahead and put in some more little details. So there's going to be the binding of the book right over there. Dark little shape there for the back of the binding of the book. And this is really why I like to use fast dryers. Mainly because I work on these paintings every single day, so I want them to dry. A little bit more of a dark shape here. So with details, less is more is certainly a thing. Like I'm trying to put as much as I can, or sorry, I'm trying to say as much as I can with as little as I can possibly put in. And in that way, I'm trying to optimize every single brushstroke with this painting. And again, tomorrow's video is going to be my first Q&A video. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move on to probably the globe or something, start to put in the details for the globe. And then after that, I'm going to voice it over and start to answer some of the questions. Because I really want to invite you into the studio. I really want you to feel like you're a part of this. And I don't want you to feel neglected. I'll always be here for you, don't worry. Now let's go ahead and put in a little bit more for that plane. A little bit lighter. So that's going to be the bottom plane of the book. And so another reason why I want to do the Q&A, again, just trying to be honest, is that so that I can have something filmed for tomorrow. So all I do is go in and voice over, because there's this pet expo, Super Pet Expo it's called, in Chantilly, Virginia. And if you've met me, you know that I really, really love animals. So one of my other interests besides art is basically animals. I like to see different types of animals. I even did a painting video on bearded dragons, and there's one on a rock iguana. So I want to be able to make it to that expo. a little bit darker up here. I think we're almost done with the detail work in the book. Let's put in another little wobble. I'm increasing the wobble count, the number of times I say wobble. And I want you to feel what I feel in these paintings. Creating these paintings is it's fun. To be honest, like, it's fun. Not every day has to be super serious. Putting in a little bit more yellow, just to add a little more spice to that color. Meaning I'm just changing the hue, so varying the hue a little bit, making it a little bit warmer. Wobble, wobble. There we go. Increasing the wobble count. A little bit more light there. Just a tiny little bit of light. So I think I'm going to continue putting in the details into these pages here on the bottom. So I'm going to get a little more of the Liquin original, and with another clean brush, I'm going to oil out this little area down here. So I'm just going to oil out just the area that I'm going to be working on. And again, this is why I like to work in layers, because this layer was painted yesterday, for those of you that watched yesterday's video. Oh yeah, so I have to be very careful with the edge of the area that I'm oiling out. So I'm actually going to use the oiling out to kind of sharpen this edge, or at least make it look sharper. It probably won't affect it when I get into the later stages. But what I mean is, I'm just trying to make sure that I don't oil any of these areas out by accident, just because it'll create kind of an uneven look. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into the little details. So I'm going to get another brush, and I'm going to start to put in another wobble. So again, we're increasing the wobble count. Another little wobble here. I have no idea how I'm going to do this for the globe. Because if I mess up the continents, yeah, this is a little less intricate than the continents on that globe. So I'm going to have to be very careful about that. That's going to be very meticulous. And just because of that, I think what I'm going to do for tomorrow's video is probably just continue to develop, say, the binoculars or the glasses. I think what I'm going to do is probably get a little, do a little drawing for the continents, and then transfer that drawing onto the globe, because that globe is going to require much more specificity than this did. You know, like, let's throw in some more narrative here. So this is going to be like the world that we imagine. Like, this is the world we imagine and we make up. And then that one over there, the globe, is going to be the real world. Real world contrasting with the imagination world. How about that? Totally just made up. Totally just made that up. But sounds cool. A little more wobble. And there's going to be some other little intricate shapes. So I'm going to get the lighter brush, start to put them in, sprinkling on some little details. And it's enough to just kind of suggest where the details are going to go. I would not make a very good house painter. or construction person for that matter. So a few more little details there. And I'm going to sharpen this edge even more. So I'm going to get to the lighter area of the palette. And pretty much the same color you saw me paint in there yesterday. So we're just sharpening that edge a little more. Now this is not the wobbly hand. This is the straight non-wobble. And yes, I'm adding that to the wobble count. Right into there. Okay. So I think when I go back into the fabric here, I don't think I'm going to do the fabric today, but when I get back into the fabric, I think I'm also going to take that chance to sharpen this edge and delineate it even further. So now I'm going to go ahead and get into some of these shapes. Just with whatever is on the brush. Just going to wobble this little shape into here. Almost like I actually know the thing that I'm painting. I have no idea what area of the map this is. And over here, be a little trace amounts of something, whatever that is, some more wobble. I kind of like the contrast though between the way this is painted and the way everything else is painted. I don't know, have you seen those kind of paintings where one area is painted like very classically, realistically, and then other areas are more abstract or surreal or something like that? You know what I'm talking about? Anyway, I think that this is an interesting contrast right here to all of the stuff that we had going on there. Basically, this is contrasting the hand. You can really see that. The realism in the hand contrasted by this. So I'm putting in little tiny color changes there, ever so slightly. Just putting in the details. Let's go ahead and wobble in another shape here. And I think that there was a blue shape there that I missed. But you know, I think that it's all right. I think we're going to leave a blank page here and sandwich that blank page with all of these shapes. How about that? Really don't have to copy what you're looking at. Just a little wobble there. So that, I think that's going to be the question of the day. How many times am I going to say wobble? So I think that should be enough to get all of these details to register. But before I go, yeah, this is bothering me for some reason. I think I had a little too much fun with the wobble. So what I'm going to do is soften it even more. When in doubt, blur it out. and I'm going to turn it into a kind of unified shape. So just kind of blurring out the wobble with kind of a blurry wobble till it starts to make sense, because that wasn't making sense to me. So I'm going to go ahead and suggest all these tiny little details with just these little patches of paint. Yeah, that was really starting to bother me for some reason. I still like the idea of this abstraction here, contrasting the realism there, but I think that that red squiggle is taking it too far. And so I'm going to push the value a little bit for the blue over here. Again, just taking right from that blue value scale that I mixed up earlier. Don't want to push it too light though. I just want a little more of a contrast in this shape here. Really want this to register from a distance. I think for just the last thing I'll do is just add a little more light to this lighter area of the picture. And that's about all I'm going to want to do for today. So today was opposite day. Today was really about the details. Today was all about the details and not about the structure, the value, the color, or anything like that. Just details, which again is something I never do. So that's why I'm going to title this video something like opposite day. And the other thing I forgot to mention, wobble. How many times am I going to say the word wobble in this video? I don't know if anyone's going to be interested in counting how many times I say wobble. I don't even know how many times I'm going to say wobble. Wobble. How many times am I going to say that? Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful day. I wish you the best in all of your artwork. And in tomorrow's video, tomorrow is going to be a Q&A, my first Q&A video, really trying to bring you into the process. I'm really trying to bring you here into the studio every single day so that we can create these paintings together. I wish you the best in all of your artwork, and I'll be back again tomorrow. And as always, this is what the painting looks like, with the camera as close to front and center as I can possibly get it. Now at this distance you can really see that, yeah, now the book does look like it's almost a real book now. It has the details, it has all of this stuff. You can even see from a distance all of these little nuances, all of these little tiny details that we put in. And this right here, this is the distance that you want your painting to look its best. We're basically, I don't know, 8-10 feet. I can't really go any further than 8 feet back. I'm in a tiny studio. But anyway, this is the distance that we want to optimize the way that the painting looks. This is going to be what people see when they walk across a little gallery or a museum or something, and then they stumble across your painting. This is the distance that they're going to see. All right, that being said, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll be back again tomorrow.